Affirmation for self-healing. Says number 42, humor. A good sense of humor is an effective means of keeping a sense of perspective through the trials and difficulties of life. By not taking things too seriously, one develops non-attachment. One should not laugh too much, however, lest the mind become light and one's view of life superficial. Thus, one needs to achieve a sense of perspective where humor itself is concerned. The best way to do so is to share one's laughter with God, to laugh with the sense of His joy within. Never laugh at people, but rather with them. For humor should be kindly, not sarcastic. Laugh with pure delight, and everyone will join you in your laughter. The affirmation, we'll first do it aloud. In laughter I recall.
In laughter I recall.
My own mistakes.
My own mistakes.
Merriest am I.
Merriest am I.
When by laughing.
When by laughing.
I include myself.
I include myself.
Now in a bit softer speaking voice. In laughter I recall.
In laughter I recall.
My own mistakes.
My own mistakes.
Merriest am I.
Merriest am I.
When by laughing.
When by laughing.
I include myself.
I include myself.
Now in a whisper. In laughter I recall.
In laughter I recall.
My own mistakes.
My own mistakes.
Merriest am I. When by laughing. I include myself. Now silently repeating this affirmation deep within at the point between the eyebrows. In laughter I recall my own mistakes. Merriest am I when by laughing I include myself. Now feeling this prayer for humor. I delight in life's comedy, for it reminds me that true sanity exists in Thee alone. Om. Peace. Amen. We'll now have our reading from Rays of the One Light. This is week 42. First things first. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. That expression, first things first, is a piece of counsel often given to students of business techniques. It is the advice of practicality to those who aspire to worldly success. But according to the Hermetic doctrine, as above, so below, that which works best in one level of life is often the best guide to what will work best on every other level. If a person is true to their highest priorities, they will generally find that other needs are fulfilled naturally as well. This is true, certainly, of the search for God. One of the greatest sayings of Jesus Christ was this simple sentence in the Gospel of St. Matthew chapter 6. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Paramhansa Yogananda gave his elder brother Ananda a wonderful lesson in this truth. It was Ananda who had captured him and brought him back from his flight to the Himalayas, described by Yogananda in Autobiography of a Yogi. In Yogananda's book, we read how Ananda later challenged him in the city of Agra to put his divine faith against such practical, worldly considerations as the need for earning a living. Fearless before that challenge, the young aspirant agreed to go by train without any money to the nearby town of Brindaban, not to miss a single meal in Vrindavan, and to find his way back to Agra without begging and without in any other way asking for help. In one of the most thrilling chapters in the book, Yogananda fulfilled all the conditions of the test. Yogananda continued the account. As the tale was unfolded, my brother turned sober, then solemn. The law of demand and supply reaches into subtler realms than I had supposed, Ananta spoke, with a spiritual enthusiasm never before noticeable. I understand for the first time your indifference to the vaults and vulgar accumulations of the world. Late as it was, my brother insisted that he received Diksha, initiation, into Kriya Yoga. As the Bhagavad Gita puts in the 9th chapter, those who worship lesser gods go to their gods, but those who worship me come to me. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Oh.
Oh. Oh. Ah, what a joy. What a joy. And I guess, the simplicity of this reading this week is kind of a fun one. First things first. And it's a little bit, the last time we had Sunday service, so a week or two, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we spoke about just that doing, getting in and doing. We've been given this roadmap. And, first things first, it's kind of an interesting thing. So what kind of stops us? And I'm going to do a reading from Whispers from Eternity, but the main thing that stops us from doing first things first is fear, isn't it? Like we have this fear that if we let go of all these worldly things, what's going to happen? So we'll speak a little bit about that, but before I do, I'll read this prayer demand from Whispers of Eternity, and that is the demand to be able to conquer fear. Infinite Spirit, teach me to comprehend the utter uselessness of being afraid. Help me to keep in mind that even death, since come it must, at least comes only once, and need not be suffered 1,000 times before and through fear. When death does come, it will be by nature's mercy. When it comes, I will welcome it in my own soul, for I will understand that it is time for me to move on, lowering the curtain on its life's drama, but traveling perhaps to something new and equally interesting. Let me not be psychologically antique, fearing change. Teach me not to paralyze my nerves daily with the dread of some future imaginary accident. Such dreads may only invite the accident to happen. Bless me that I not let fear anesthetize my mind and shut off my unlimited power as thy child to overcome all tests and trials. Help me to realize that whether I am awake or asleep or alert or dreaming, thine all-protecting presence encircles me always. Help me to come to see that neither mighty fortress nor the wealth of Croesus could protect me from disease, earthquakes, and all kind of accidents, that thou alone art my protector, and that although I walk where bullets fly or where swarms of bacteria abound, I am ever safe and alone in thy all-sheltering light. Shanti, Shanti. And I love it, this prayer demand, because, it's kind of the essence of the autobiography of a yogi, this whole thing. It's this story of Yogananda. And he used those examples, but he was fearless in the way he went about it. And that story of him heading to Vrindavan with nothing, penniless, and he had complete faith. He had no fear in what he did. And it's kind of an interesting thing because the parable that was read is from the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount was given to the disciples. And it's kind of an interesting journey when you start looking at Autobiography of a Yogi, that it's kind of that change that was given to Jesus's disciples, and it was kind of like these rules of how to get about. And for that period of time, it was only given really to the disciples, the monks, the people that were there, similar to Krishna's teachings, similar to, they were all given to everyone, but the true, even Kriya was only given to the renunciants, the people that were going to give all. And there's a beautiful paradigm or a line drawn in the sand, and that's the importance of the guru disciple relationship that was in the cave, Babaji's cave, and there was a debate around whether Kriya was going to be reintroduced, but only given to those earnest, those people that were renunciants. And it was fought during that time to give it to the householder. And we're in that level. We're in that stage of transition. We are that householder that is being asked to step up to these parables. We're being asked to step up to these teachings. We're being asked to step up to these things. And 2 weeks ago, I spoke about the fact that we're pretty clear, aren't we? We're pretty clear what Yogananda is telling us to do. But now it's a time to start doing. And that's what this is all about. This is about the doing part. And we talk about the fact that there is meditation and devotion, but there's also savor. And the savor is the doing part. And I love the story and the journey and the big message that Swami Kriyananda gave us. And if you look at what's happened, Yogananda came in, he shared teachings to everyone. He planted seeds all across the world. And then as he drew nearer to his moving on from this worldly body, he started closing down all the things that were taking his energy away and focusing it and surrounding by only a few people. But one of the messages that was spoken with great power was the one that Yogananda did on the lawn, where he said, we need to go north, Beverly Hills Party, north, south, east, west, and build community. And Swami Kriyananda was there and he felt it. He talks about feeling that in the ether, feeling it as a vibration. Now think about what happened after that. Swami gave up his whole life as a disciple of Yogananda, and everything was torn apart. Everything was pulled out of his life. Everything, I think, bar probably a little few clothes that he had and some money for accommodation in the other side of the country.
He got asked to leave the organization.
When he got asked to leave the organization that this message was given through. But what did he do? What would you and I have done? I mean, how do we feel when someone at work tells us we've done the wrong thing and we're this close to losing our job, when we feel we've stood up, you know? He went and has lived every moment of those words. And he has not stopped until that. He has lived all the lessons in the Autobiography of a Yogi. And it starts in the first few chapters. It's endless. It talks about the faith that he had with getting an extra 2 sets of kites. He didn't just get 1 kite delivered by Divine Mother because his sister challenged him. He got 2. He didn't, all through these examples, he went to Brindaban, and he did it with penniless. He didn't do anything there. His sister's husband challenged him in their faith and was teasing him. He went, and not only did he have a divine experience, but he had complete faith. And you can imagine, I know this sounds great, but we all think of Yogananda as this, but at the time he was this young kid. So to be like one of your kids, and all you've said to them during this visit to the temple is, mate, just go, make sure you organise lunch. Yep, no worries. Imagine your kids just go, yeah, no worries, and they disappear for a few hours, and lunch comes and all this happens. But he had complete faith. He had what was stepped up and asked to him. He had no fear in his belief system. What a powerful thing. And we are being asked to step up and do the same thing. How often do you hear, oh, can't quite make it there because I've got this on? And we all kind of go, oh, I feel really sorry. Yep, that's, I understand how life's busy. We've all got that. And one of my favorite stories is we just heard it last night driving home, but it was the saint with 2 pensions. And here you're thinking, oh, hold on, this guy's got 2 pensions. He can do whatever he wants, but he didn't. He worked full time, but he chose to find God. He wanted the freedom of God. He chose to meditate for 8 hours a night with a dear friend. 8 hours a night, as well as working full time. And I believe that working wasn't just getting up like often Australians do and going and having avocado on toast and having a few coffee meetings and ducking out for lunch. And then I'll do a few hours here and there, and come back after that. I think the surf's good. I might have a bit of a surf before I get home for dinner. I'd imagine the work back then was pretty full on. And he was so dedicated, and he goes, I could just feel it just there, but I couldn't quite get it. He went to his guru and actually asked for a blessing so that he could feel God. It wasn't about his work. It wasn't about anything, just to feel God. And he got that blessing, and the pension was freedom. It was freedom from money, freedom from everything. He didn't need, it's such a beautiful story. These 2 pensions, and we've got access to that. We've been given this right. And I think I said it a couple of weeks ago. We can read and get motivated. We can, it's kind of like, as a young boy, I loved sailing, so I read the thickest books on sailing I could, and I understood it. But I didn't have a sailing boat. But it was fantastic. I lived my dream through this great book. I did some sailing here and there. But it wasn't the doing part. And I feel sometimes we can get so inspired by these books, these teachings, these great storytellers that we have in this day and age. But this week is all about saying, let's be the doers. Let's do this in our life. Make it our priority. Because at an instant, life can be taken away. That's that story. Life literally in this whispers, the fear. We have no control over that. We're learning our lessons. We're doing those things. Every day should be in the moment. Every day should be, if I got taken now, have I done what I could have done now? And that's that one step in front of each other that they talk about. Doing, the doing part. The saver is the doing part. Joy to you.
That was a great adventure you took us on. One of the things that stands out around this week is the choice of this affirmation and this topic. So our affirmation being humor, and yet the topic being something so central to renunciation, and the life of renunciation being you seek God first in all things. And then through that faith, more can come to you without any fear, without, any loss. And so when you think about why humor, and the key word being in that affirmation, the talking that Swamiji shared, how important non-attachment is. And so when you're thinking of how do I get to where I feel that I'm putting God first, so I'm not letting anything get in the way of making that my central part of my day, making that my how I build my life around this central path to God, and remembering to use humor as the way to achieve that. So when we're not attached, we are less affected by outcomes. We're more accepting of what is. But to be able to laugh when things maybe don't go the way we planned, or it's that lightheartedness. So every time that you can think of, there's a little song that Swamiji has for children. It's lightly I fly when I live in laughter. Lightly I fly when my heart sings. And it's the way of the yogi on this path is remembering to hold a little bit of lightness when you're going about things, because especially now when we get really caught up in the drama and the intensity of what's going on, it's so important to be able to still have those moments where you feel lightness, where you feel your heart is free, and you have that sense of childlike wonder and joy no matter what's going on. And the words of Babaji for our path, he said, even a little practice of this inward religion will free you from dire fears and colossal sufferings. I think it was his adaptation of the Bhagavad Gita. So I think that originally is the Gita. And Babaji encouraged the devotee to remember that this path of freeing our heart through meditation and service is freeing ourselves of our attachments, one layer at a time, one bit at a time. But by doing that, it's going to increase our faith, which when you think about it, I love this quote. It's from our meditation teacher training. The saying is, if you have fear, you cannot have faith. That's a really interesting one to think about. The moment fear enters, you've lost faith. So when you're starting to feel a worry, Yogananda encouraged us to take worry fasts, which I really love in this day and age of dieting and fasting and cleansing and all these things. And he's like, don't forget your thoughts. They are just as harmful as what you put in your body temple. So what you put in your mind is also really important. So remembering that when you're applying first things first, or you're applying seek ye first the kingdom of God, don't forget the importance of not only the physical realm, but the mental, the emotional, all of those things that are consciousness. Is your consciousness attuned to God first? So you can be at peace. The heart in its stillness, in its freest form, is complete peace. And so when you're in that state and you begin to act and share and live in that state of peace, you actually do have quite the sense of humor, because nothing can take that away from you. And so you see the lightness of this little educational play that we're in. And there's those stories from Autobiography of a Yogi. If he had gotten worried, would that have blocked all those positives from Divine Mother? Yes, because we are a magnet and we attract, just as he said in that Whispers you chose, we attract those things that we worry about. We attract those judgments of others. They have to manifest in our life, so we develop compassion. So anything that we do to stay light, to stay in our little peace, our temple of peace, anything that we can do to free our minds and hearts from the pressures of this outer world, and we return to that inner state where we can be calm no matter what happens, where we can feel okay no matter what challenges come into our life in our day, and we can accept things and even laugh a little. That story of Jyotish when the fire burnt down the entire village of Ananda, when they had first finished their phase of building homes and families were forming and people were giving everything they had to live that life together. And the fire burnt his home down, and they had just had a little baby, and their baby was a little boy, and he was 9 days old, and Davy had just gone into town to take him to the doctors for his little checkup, his first little checkup. And she couldn't get in because the fire was so large and raging. And when she finally did meet Joe Tish after it had settled down, he shared a joke. The amount of wisdom and dedication to God and faith in God to be able to laugh in that moment it's an enormous example of what this
worry about those leaks.
Yeah, it's an enormous example of this, what this path can do for you. Because don't we all want to get away from suffering? I love those words of Divine Mother. Get away from my ocean of suffering. Stop. Don't get so involved. Lighten the moment. Have a little fun here and there. Realize this is here to help you to learn and be a little bit entertained as well. So anything we can do to bring that into our day and live this path from its center, we will achieve those qualities where we too can be standing amidst whatever crashes are occurring and just being completely at peace. So that's our hope for all of us and all of this world. We're one day going to be there, but on our journey to that moment, let's do our best to help each other and remember to laugh a little bit. So thank you all. And I could find a little